We live? Oh, yes. You know how we get the video?
Color? Yeah, I couldn't. Oh, geez. Okay.
No.
So I'm pretty sure right now on YouTube it's just an audio.
Yeah, but
That's why I was there.
I think all of your brunches have been this one. This one that works?
They put the camera at the top of it.
that's like, get rid of the video.
Yeah.
Turn camera on, yes.
Camera in here?
Yeah, they're right there and right there.
Okay. That one's turned
That
on.
one's around and that one's pointing right there, so.
Yes. Why did Chris leave?
I don't know. I was telling him
Let's
that
do. Good.
Thank
Thank you. All right, somebody want to go on YouTube and check if this is working correctly, please?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's there, but let's just
The video-
something went wrong. Have to retry. There we go, all right.
The video and audio work.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, sweet. Hi, everyone. Hey, guys. Okay. I call this 23rd meeting of the 12th Undergraduate Senate to order. I'm going to begin by calling the roll. Senator Pintar. Here. Senator Gale. Senator Rogers.
Here.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, Senator Lixine. Okay, Senator Rogers is here. Senator Zitzman.
Here.
Senator Barno.
Here.
Senator Pugh.
Here.
Senator Canada.
Here.
Senator Conover. Here. Senator Grant. Senator Adeli.
Here.
Senator Smith. Senator Morrow. Here. Senator Spivak. Senator Zhang. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we have 9, so we're Gucci. All right, cool. Adoption of the agenda. This is the agenda. Is there any discussion on it? Cool. Agenda is going to be adopted without objection. These are the minutes from the 22nd meeting. They're actually not emailed out. Any discussion on the minutes from the 22nd meeting? This is them. Okay, minutes are going to be adopted without objection. We're going to move on to public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? Reports from officers. Vice President Sell.
Right. Hello. Really briefly, a couple weeks ago, American weekend, we had Gabrielle Union, and that was very exciting. I think the response we've gotten from it was really good. A lot of people were really, personally, that's the best KP events I've been to since I've been here. I think it was like topical, very relevant. Like she was great, like a person as well. So that was really exciting. This past week, SIS Undergraduate Council had their international dinner. That was also very good. That was congrats to Fleet Bay put that together. Yeah, that's it.
Any questions for the Vice President? Awesome. New business, there is none. Old business, Senator Adeli's bill, Bill 1617-025. The clerk will report legislation by number and title.
Bill 1617-025, a bill to improve constituency engagement.
Okay, awesome. So this bill went through the CRP amendment process, and it was recommended favorably for passage. I sent you guys a new draft of the bill in the emails that should have all the CRP amendments, which are right here. Okay, let's start. Do you want to talk about your bill?
Yeah, so as mentioned in CRP and the previous Senate, this is an opportunity for senators outside of re-election period to engage with their constituency, which I don't think happens that often, and so this really formalizes the process in order to do so. As I mentioned before, the engagement is split up by AUCC club caucuses, which are bulleted in the proposed bill. Yeah, I mean, I think the amendments that went through CRP are really good ones, and I think really help the policy move forward, and it's a little bit more transparent in how you can fulfill it. And I really hope that in the next Senate session, if this is passed by this body, we will see more of an AUSG Senate presence outside of 1:30 on a Sunday in Kogod. So.
Awesome. Some concerns that were brought up in CRP, we're about like this kind of last paragraph when it comes to the enforcement mechanism. So you all are aware. So does anybody have any questions for the sponsor?
Just a point of inquiry, can we just zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, which part, because they can't fit it all.
Do subsection 2 since there wasn't any changes to the first section.
Better?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, no questions for the sponsor? Okay, let's move into discussion.
I have an amendment to propose.
Okay.
In that last sentence, we took out the 4 attendance requirements. Elected members of the undergraduate shall collaborate regularly with the AUCC. Yeah, I think just take out the in addition to the 4 attendance requirements, or take out the 4. So it just reads in addition to the attendance requirements.
Okay, where are you?
Final
At the after be it further enacted. So where it says 4 attendance requirements, just take out the 4.
Is this your amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're going to go into voting. All those in favor of adopting this amendment say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the yeas have it, the amendment is going to be adopted. Any other discussion on the bill? Senator Zitzman.
I move to strike elected from that last clause as well.
Second.
Is this your amendment?
Yes.
There was a second. Any discussion on this amendment?
Yeah, this is just because, as far as I'm aware, there's not an official distinction between members of the undergraduate senate anywhere in the governing documents. But as of yet, I have not been elected. I was appointed at the beginning of the semester and confirmed by the Senate. So if I really wanted to be weaselly, I could say that this doesn't apply to me. But if we just say members of the Senate, that's more universal.
Other discussion? Awesome. Okay, so seeing none, we're going to move on to voting on this amendment. All those in favor of adopting this amendment say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Any of the chairs that the yeas have it, the amendment is going to be adopted. This is the bill in current form. Any other discussion on it? Senator Pugh.
I feel like there should also be some kind of, or at least I want to hear from other senators about how do senators prove or show that they were in attendance at these events. If there's a certain way that someone would consider, or if the sponsor would specifically consider, I'd like to hear from that.
Senator Pinto.
I mean, we could do it, we could have something pretty simple, like you could also like take a picture, or you could just, you could just talk to the leader of that group and just like reach out, because I think what's most important is that these groups know that we're coming to these events and just say, hey, like I'm your senator, I really enjoyed your event, it was really good to talk to you, like I really like to work with you further to work on some outreach with your group.
Senator Dell.
My hesitance of taking a picture or having like the president of the organization reach out and say, yes, the senator attended my meeting, it's not organic. Like, it's like you were going there with the purpose of fulfilling an attendance requirement. And that's not like, this is supposed to be solely to, I guess, ease the process or like enforce the process of us engaging with our constituency. The constituency, not to say that they don't need to know about this attendance requirement, but they should not know that you're going to them because of the attendance requirement. So.
Yeah, I just clarify, like, I completely agree. That's like, even when I said it, like the picture does kind of seem like, oh, I'm just making the requirement. But I think the point of reaching out is to make it seem organic, just because we want them to know we're also engaging with them, just because, and that people don't always think that we go to these events or like we don't really care outside of like election season. So I think just like making sure that, not that they know that we're there because of a requirement, but because we're there like just to support them, which I think could be good for them to know.
Any other discussion?
This is kind of like not really just. I think it's like this is something that we can talk about moving forward, but I'd like to also say something in the future about like class and school councils as well. I think those are also constituencies that aren't always engaged. Like I have to work with those and get them up and running. So that's like a future thing just like think so we kind of are thinking about that moving forward.
Senator Susan,
Would you direct a question to the Vice President?
would you take a question?
All right. So I just don't really know a lot about this. My understanding for the class councils, what I know they do is organize a gift that each class gives to the university after they graduate. But aside from that, what do they do that the Senate could be involved with?
They put on like programming as well. I know like past like a couple weeks ago, past 2020 had an event in the bridge with Case. By like I'm blanking.
Student rights.
Right.
Yes, students right. What's about now, but like things like that, like inside the councils, international dinner, like going to those events and being like present in those constituencies clubs. Like not every member, every student is a member of a club. Like they all are. You're either a student, you're in a class, you're in a school. Like kind of just working with those constituencies as well. But like I said, that's a future thing because like I need to get the councils and where they're kind of a mess right now.
Any other discussion on this bill? Okay, if there's no other discussion, we're gonna move on to voting. So if there are any amendments that want to be proposed, I would let me know, because I don't know, like I've heard from y'all that like you're not totally satisfied with it.
I think for me, like, since Senator Pugh brought up the whole, like, proving that you went, I'm just trying to figure out what's the most organic way to put that into the subsection. Because I don't want, like, people just writing in an Excel sheet that they went to something and they didn't go.
You can also use an unmoderated caucus, you think that's beneficial, or Pintar.
I mean, are we totally against just doing like honor code? Because I think if we're elected and we sign up for this, like if we're gonna swear into this or be appointed, would it be so bad if we just like held each other accountable for doing this? And I think it shows like if we have like Senator A going to all their events and doing what they need to do in the community, and Senator B is not, like that's going to be apparent. Just like on that level.
Senator Shannon.
I really like the honor code idea because we are all elected or appointed to these positions because we want to help various constituencies. But I think maybe one way to more solidify that would be to require that a senator goes with another senator so that you could both vouch for each other would be my suggestion.
Senator Mora.
I feel like, I mean, like, I agree, and I think it's a cool idea, but like, I think that further complicates things for scheduling in terms of trying to get somebody. I mean, like, it does encourage a sense of community within our Senate, but like, I don't really know if it's the best or the most, I don't know. I just like, for me, thinking of my schedule, I don't think it would be really difficult to kind of coordinate and then have time to go to an event and then coordinate with someone else to go to that event as well. I think it complicates things, but I think the honor code is good. Also, I get the picture idea. I just like, what if we just sent it in to you directly? I don't know, instead of like having to post it or anything, just send it into whoever's in charge of this directly. So then like nobody really sees it. Nobody really has that idea. Like, I mean, like people can know about this bill, but like, I think just putting the bill out there already makes it not as maybe organic, but I think it's a good idea. I just think maybe we should just post pictures directly to the person in charge of it.
Senator Zitzman.
Obviously, it is a very low bar to just take a picture of the event. That's not prohibitively burdensome, but also at the same time, the benefit of having it on an honor code system is that if you write into the attendance policy that as part of you going, you prove that you were there, that kind of signals that the expectation of this is that you might skip it, so we need you to prove it. So I think if it was just established as a norm in the Senate that you go to these and it's understood that you go to them, then if it's found out that a senator doesn't go to them, that makes it seem more significant. So I feel like we're establishing norms here by not writing it into the bill would have a greater effect on if anyone didn't go to them and didn't have an excuse, just decided to shirk their responsibilities. I think that would make that seem more important.
I would just say that I think there needs to be something beyond just an honor code. There needs to be some sort of enforceable mechanism, some sort of proof that you did go to an event. Otherwise, this bill is meaningless. You know, there's an expectation that people come to Senate, and yet every week we have an issue meeting quorum. So I would just remind the Senate of that and encourage some sort of evidence-based system that people did attend an event. I'm not sure what that should look like, but I think there should be one.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, just like Senator Rogers said, about the best way to go about doing it, but I think a small way that sort of balances between the non-organic versus just the honor code is simply taking a photo and sending it right to the speaker. Be like, hey, I attended this event, because the speaker is the one that runs the attendance policy and then tracks our attendance. I think that's something just to start with. I don't know if there's any other ideas, but that way it doesn't become too obvious either if someone is like just, you know, having to take a photo with the president or taking something else. So.
You spoke
Here I move to amend the bill, inserting subsection 3, below subsection 2. Says,
the title of the subsection is.
photographs. All right, let's see. Yeah, so the subsection can read, after attending each of their required events, senators shall submit to the speaker a photograph of that event to prove that they were there, to prove that the senator was there.
You want this comment that I put here?
Is it? Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool.
Should it say required instead of requirement? Is that what you meant?
Where? Yes, required events.
Oh, you're so right. Okay, so is this your amendment?
Yes.
All right, this is the amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on, or would this sponsor, or would the
Really quick,
proposer of the amendment like to speak on why they propose this
well,
amendment?
she can't speak, so can I make a motion to,
She
not
is
sponsor
not the amender, I am. The reason I propose this amendment is the reasons that have been discussed previously.
Any discussion on the amendment?
The amendment doesn't say that the senator has to be in the photograph, so is that something we want to clarify? Or could it just be that you're taking a picture of like a room filled with?
Senator Bardo.
Can I make a motion to allow Senator Daly to have ultimate speaking rights on this, since this is her legislation?
Point of order, because we're because we're discussing a new part.
She can speak now.
Yeah, she can
Oh,
speak.
she can speak
again.
now? Okay, okay, cool. So you can-
Again, I think this amendment could supplement something else, as, for example, an email correspondence between the person you went to their event. I think having a photograph is not going to be helpful. One, the person could not be in it. Two, it could also be a picture of a group of people. Three, it could be an event you just stood in the back of the amphitheater and took a picture and then left. I think something in lieu of photographs as email correspondence, reaching out to the president of that organization, a member that you went, thanks for having me. I would like to continue a channel of communication, would be a lot more sufficient than a photograph.
Yeah, so Senator Adeli is correct in that email correspondence and other things have merits that this amendment with pictures does not. But the difference is the intent. This amendment, the intent of it, and the intent of people who are proposing ideas like this outside of amendments was to prove as a matter of Senate rules and policy that you're fulfilling your attendance requirement. It's like an internal Senate matter. It is important to engage with the clubs in a concrete manner, and that's the sort of thing that Senator Adeli was speaking of, but that's not what this is about.
Senator Pugh.
I will actually agree. I mean, I will concur with Senator Adeli's suggestion for reaching, like, having like a thank you message or something for having me at this event and establishing that line of connection. I think would serve as a better proof, I guess, as to being the event than a photograph. So I would honestly recommend not moving forward with this amendment and considering a new amendment.
Continue the discussion on this amendment.
I just don't see why we can't have both. I mean, a photograph, like if we changed it so that it had to be a photograph of the senator at the event, I think that would be helpful for the speaker in terms of determining who is meeting their policy and who is not. And as part of perhaps another subsection, it could say that, like, at the conclusion of the event, senators must reach out to a member of the club or organization that sponsored the event, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I share probably the same apprehensions as Senator Adeli. Just about the photographic aspect, I do see the benefit of like holding people accountable. But for me, I feel like this bill is to hold us accountable to reaching out and being a part of the community and making our presence better known, or just doing our job better and just making sure that we're connecting with the community that we're supposed to be representing. And I think like contact, like whether it's an email or whether it's just going up saying like, hey, I really enjoyed your event, like afterwards, is what this bill is trying to do. It's to make sure that they know that we're reaching out to them and they know that they can talk to us whenever they need something talked about in the Senate.
Senator Adeli.
With all the merit that photograph holds, what this photograph does to this requirement is that it prioritizes your attendance over your communication with the community you're trying to engage with. And that's not, the whole premise of this is to make it a more organic process of engaging with your constituency. And the photograph just says, I was here first, and then maybe later on I'll reach out. The point is that you're going to the event to reach out. And so I don't know if the photograph really fits the culture of what this policy is supposed to be, but that could just be me.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Yes.
Yeah, so by offering this amendment, I wasn't intending to reduce this policy into just going there, period. This whole bill is trying to use, just at a textual level, it is just attending a policy or attending a meeting, and therefore cleaning connection with your community. If you want to add something else other than simply attending the meeting, that's something you need to do from the text. But this amendment is not reducing that connection to just attendance any more than the rest of the bill is, because the only thing this bill does in its entirety is attendance. So if we want to add something else more organic than just attendance and photograph to the process, we need to do that. But this amendment doesn't really tread on that question.
Well, I agree with Senator Adeli's concerns that the spirit of this bill in its entirety is to encourage our outreach to our constituencies, and that the photograph subsection is too litigious. It's trying to like produce evidence, and I think maybe an alternative to this could be that we require senators report back to committee meetings about what concerns of the organization that they reached out to were, and through the minutes of committee meetings, you'll see that the senator has a report back of what the concerns of that community or that club are, and you can count up that there were 4 of them, 1 from each caucus, that's a way to solidly prove that they attended because they wouldn't be able to report on something if they didn't. And also it's organic and it's moving us forward to advocating for different constituents.
Senator White.
Well, to that point, then missing a committee meeting would dock you twice for the same thing in terms of attendance, because if you miss the committee meeting, you can't report on whether or not you attended an event, and then so you lose out on the attendance requirement for the event as well as on the committee meeting.
Senator Bardo.
Can you just send your notes in an email to the chair of the committee? I don't know about the attendance policy, like committee and stuff, but could you just send your notes into the chair and like CC the speaker in regards to that?
Any other discussion on this amendment? Senator Coulter.
I move to amend the amendment.
Cool. What do you want to do?
I'm trying to find the wording I want to use, but just get the ball rolling. In substitute of a photograph, a senator may also send their report to their committee chair. Yeah, actually, can we strike photograph as well?
Okay, hold on. Your committee chair. So this is your amendment. What did you want to strike?
Strike the yellow.
So you're replacing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Point of order, that's not germane to the amendment. If the senator disagrees with the amendment, then we should vote on it, vote it down, and then create a new amendment.
Okay, fine. I remove my amendment.
Okay, you'd like to withdraw it?
Correct.
Cool. So this is the amendment.
I move to vote.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion to vote? Okay, we're gonna vote on, if we're gonna vote, does that make sense? So okay, so saying yes right now means that we're gonna then vote on the amendment. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
All those in favor of moving to vote, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, now we're gonna vote on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting this amendment, please say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
I'm gonna ask for hands just to make sure. All those in favor of adopting this amendment, please say yay and raise your hand.
Yeah.
So that's 2. Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that's 7. So in the opinion of the chair, the nays have it, and this amendment is not adopted. Senator Pintar.
I move to make a new amendment.
Okay, what would you like to do?
Subsection 3, report.
Okay, what would you like this subsection to say?
To fulfill their requirement, a senator may report to their committee chair, either in person or via email.
And so I understand your amendment. Do you mean like the standing committee they're on, or do you mean the AUCC caucus? What do you mean?
Standing committee.
Okay. This is the amendment. Would the sponsor like to speak on why they propose this amendment?
Yeah. I just,
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, would the sponsor like to speak on why they propose this amendment?
I'm just following up with Senator Sitzman's efforts to form some kind of like place to work on how we are reporting to, or how we're reporting to the Senate on our work. And just from the current conversation, this seems to be something that more people agree on. So I would like to start conversation on that.
Any questions for the sponsor discussion?
I have a question. I'm not quite sure how committee structures work, but who's the committee chair report to then?
So I can talk about the standing committees if that's what you mean. So each senator is required to be on one standing committee. So like this year, or like this Senate, Noah created the standing committees, and they were CSICU is CR.
Yes, I'm saying like, who does the chair report to on their attendance?
Oh, speaker.
Speaker?
Speaker.
Okay.
I could put that
It's in
in
the
there.
bylaws.
Okay. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Zipslin.
I move to amend the amendment by replacing a Senator may with a Senator shall.
So you want to change may to shall?
Yes.
Second.
Is this your amendment?
Yes.
I heard a second. Would the sponsor like to speak on why they propose this amendment?
It's just, it turns it into an option to a requirement.
Okay. Any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're going to vote. All those in favor of this amendment, please say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Cool, the amendment is going to be adopted. Back on to the yellow ink. Any discussion? Senator Kent.
I appreciate Senator Pentar's moving forward with this idea, but I recommend that we work to clarify this subsection because it's kind of vague. We know what we're trying to convey. It says a senator shall report to their committee chair, but rather than that, can we say a senator shall report in detail what they experienced at the event they attended to their standing committee, either orally or via email, like something like that that's more substantive.
Is that a motion to amend?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you like to do?
Okay. A senator shall report.
Are you replacing?
No, I'm adding it after that.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I am replacing. I'm sorry. So to fulfill the requirement, a senator shall report to their standing committee.
Yeah.
In detail about their experience at the event that they attended. Either in person or via email.
Is this, oh,
Be a comma after person.
is this your amendment?
There shouldn't be a comma after person.
I have a little comments, I just put them everywhere. Is this your amendment?
Yes, that's my
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the sponsor of the amendment like to speak on why they propose the amendment?
Yes. In light of all of the discussion, we want to find a way to prove that senators are fulfilling this requirement, but we don't want to make it inorganic or seem like we're trying to prioritize our own attendance. The spirit of this is, the spirit of the outreach is so that we can learn from our constituencies what is needed of us in this body. So if we're to report back to our standing committees about what we see and experience at the club meetings, caucus, events, whatever, that's a way forward for our own outreach on behalf of those constituencies.
Any discussions, amendment, Senator Mora?
Well, I just wanted to ask, I'm curious as to your opinions on the amendments being made or what you think. I don't know if that's like.
Well, I was gonna make it a comment after this amendment was passed.
Okay. Just a question generally, like in terms of attendance stuff. So like I as the speaker, I'm one that keeps track of the attendance. So would you guys, is your view of this amendment for the standing committee chair to then let me know if they went? You know what I'm saying? Because like standing committees chairs are not the people who take attendance, and I am.
Yeah, so inquiry.
Senator Ken, I'm going to do him because he's a sponsor.
My thought process on this, and we could change the amendment to clarify that, was don't standing committee meetings have to file with you minutes of the meeting. So if a senator was to report on what they attended, you would see that in the minutes and could record that in attendance.
Yeah, my concern is that standing committees are only required to meet when they have business, and business is defined as legislation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Senator Zipton, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask whether the chairs of the committees report attendance at the committee to you.
They do.
And then, okay, that they could just, if we move forward with this, include whatever event attendance with the committee attendance.
Yeah, that's certainly an option, because they are required to report attendance to. Any other discussion on the green ink of this amendment? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna vote on the amendment to the amendment. All those in favor of adding the green ink to the yellow ink, meaning adopting the amendment to the amendment, say yay.
Yeah.
And those opposed, nay. Okay. So this is the amendment in its current form, and this is your amendment, right, Senator Nixon?
Correct.
Oh, it's yours?
So it's fine.
Okay. This is Senator Pinter's amendment. Senator Adele, discussion on this.
A question for the sponsor. So for, I guess one of the situations that I'm seeing play out is, for example, if a senator goes to an event that's like under community connections, which would be something like the darkening, but they don't sit on a diversity and inclusion committee. How do you see that playing out under this amendment?
Oh, me. I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing. Like, I don't think more senators going doesn't seem like a bad thing. I think any like committee or any club would like more senators or more like people reaching out to them for like what they want to see.
But like for the sake of the report, so like a senator goes to like a community connections caucus, but the committee that they sit on does not specialize in community connections. It specializes in something else. So I guess that discrepancy is something that is like hesitating me to support this amendment, but if there's clarification on that, it would be beneficial.
I think because we're able to, this requires us to go to one of each, then I think you could find something that your committee could do in each of these, like even if you're in like student, where's the words I'm trying to find? Even if you go to the darkening, there's probably something you could learn from that to bring to your committee either way. So I think that it's just beneficial for everyone to also like get a variety of like the whole consensus of like the community, like the AU community in general.
Senator Morrow?
I'm just curious how often we're expecting them to report, because I mean, she made a comment that the committees don't always meet. Like, and they don't meet regularly, like, and so I'm just kind of curious, like, if it doesn't meet, like, what do people see as expecting for how often they report? Like, do they report every once a month? Do they report afterwards? You know, that's just, I don't think it's really that addressed.
I do think that we should put in there when the report should be done. But I mean, if a committee doesn't meet, it doesn't necessarily harm that, because again, they could just email it to the chair and to the speaker, the report. And in regards to Senator Adele, comment, I think it might be worth amending the amendment to saying that the report should also be sent to the prospective committee for the respective issues. If someone wants to make an amendment, or how do people feel about that?
So that's not a motion?
Not a motion, just discussion.
Okay. Senator Pugh.
Another idea would just to be shall report to a standing committee chair. That way the senator can decide where like their experience in their event can fall into a specific standing committee. And then that chair can then report anyone who's reported to them to the speaker. That way it spreads out some of the work between the chairs, but also allows the senator to specifically target where they report.
Senator Adele.
I think that echoing Senator Pugh's statements, that would be really beneficial. I would support this amendment. In addition, I feel as though this report would be substantial for reporting back the information. However, in terms of attendance, I think we should further, after this amendment, look to an email correspondence requirement. But,
I move to amend this amendment by replacing there with the first there with an I in it to A.
Is this your amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the sponsor like to speak on why they propose this amendment?
For the same reason that Senator Pugh spoke on it.
Any discussion on this amendment? Are you seeking recognition?
No, not at this moment.
Any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're gonna vote. All those in favor of adopting the amendment to the amendment, which is the green ink, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the yeas have it, and the amendment is gonna be adopted. Amendment to the amendment, excuse me. So now this is the amendment on the floor. Senator Pugh.
I move to amend to add after committee, add the word chair, because that was the original intention of my proposal.
Is this your amendment?
Yes.
I heard a second. Would the sponsor like to speak on why they proposed the amendment?
Just that way, you don't like, if you're not a part of a committee, you're giving it just to the chair and the chair can specifically put together the final report.
Any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're gonna move to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the amendment to the amendment, which is the green ink, say yay.
Yeah.
Those opposed, nay. Opinion of the chair, the yeas have it, the amendment is gonna be, amendment to the amendment is going to be adopted. Back onto the yellow ink and discussion on that.
I would just say that I think there needs to be some sort of process by which chairs are required to then report this to the speaker. Since it is an attendance issue, the speaker can't really enforce attendance if the chairs aren't required to tell the speaker about that attendance. If that makes sense. Wasn't an amendment, just a thought.
Discussion? Yep. Are you,
Not yet.
any other discussion on this amendment? Senator Pugh?
Right, so I move to amend the amendment to add a sentence
Okay, where?
after email.
Cool.
Any committee chairs shall report these experiences to the speaker actually about standing committee chairs shall provide a list of these senator experiences to the speaker I would say at least 3 hours before the next Senate meeting.
Is this your amendment to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I heard a second. Would the sponsor like to speak on why they propose this amendment?
I'm just trying to formulate the ideas that Senator Rogers was putting together.
So any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to voting on the amendment to the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment to the amendment, which is a green ink, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, and in the chair that the yeas have it, amendment to the amendment is gonna be adopted. This is the amendment in its current form. Did I spell this wrong?
No, you just underlined it.
It's like, wants me to capitalize it, but I don't think experiences should be capitalized. Any other discussion on this yellow ink amendment? Senator Adeli?
Now that I'm seeing that the committee chairs are also somewhat responsible for, I guess, vouching for the attendance of a senator at an event, I think if it looks favorably upon this body to also add something, since most of this policy regards the speaker looking out for the attendance, that we should also add a sentence regarding how the senator reports to the speaker about their attendance policy. Because it's not the reporting of the experiences to this committee chairs isn't, from my understanding, it was to provide information and report rather than for their attendance, but if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Senator Zipman.
I feel like we could make room for such an amendment, but I don't see why it would be necessary, because my understanding is that the speaker's role in this legislation is just to make sure that the attendance is met. And the way it's happening with this amendment is that they gather information from standing committee chairs and then use that information to, for instance, fill in their attendance spreadsheet on attendance at events. So I don't know what else could be added to involve the committee chairs and the speaker.
Any other discussion? Senator Kenneth.
Well, I think that if there are valid concerns to say that it's going through a chain of command now, like from senator to committee chair to speaker. But if we require, in addition to this, the senator just reporting to the speaker, we get back to the original problem of how do we trust that the senator actually went to the event. And I think that for the senator reporting to a committee chair saying like, I went to this event and I talked to these people that were saying these are their concerns with, you know, this policy or this code. They really like to see that we advocate on behalf of this or work towards this. And having that substance, and in the amendment it says in detail, report in detail about their experience. So by having that substance, it proves that they were there, and then the standing committee chair can just really report to the speaker, like, based on what's been provided to me, I can vouch for the fact that that senator attended the event.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we're gonna vote. All those in favor of adopting this amendment, the yellow ink, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, in the chair, please have it, the amendment is to be adopted. Okay, now we're back on the bill as a whole. Any discussion on the bill as a whole? Okay, I'm seeing none. So we're gonna proceed with voting. This is a bylaws amendment, so it requires a 2/3 majority to pass. Okay, this is the bill. Cool. All those in favor of adopting this bill, amending the bylaws, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, can you, the chairs of the yeas have it, the bill is gonna be adopted? Cool, yay.
I have an inquiry.
Yeah.
What is there, now that the governing documents committee has already updated the bylaws up until this point so that they reflect Senate's legislative changes to it, what is our process going forward for the bylaws to reflect this change that we just made?
So like, we made a bylaws change earlier this session with the addition of the ad hoc on diversity, or like the special committee on diversity and inclusion and equity now. And I just hit Chris up and I was like, hey, we amended the bylaws. Can you put the new version up on the website?
Okay, that's fine.
So I just took care of it.
Okay.
And I'll do that with this bill too. Does that answer your question?
100%.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so old business is done. Now we're going to move into public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? Okay, we're going to move on to good of the order. Does anyone want to speak for good of the order? Senator Pugh.
I just wanted to commend Senator Adeli for this, because I think being in the Senate this year, you really see that disconnect, and I'd really like to see this policy implemented moving forward, and I think it's a really good idea. So thank you to all those. Thank you for Senator Adeli for proposing it, and thank you to all the amendments. I think it made it even stronger for this bill. So.
Just want to say it's been a really good year working with everybody, and good luck to everyone who's running for re-election currently. And I hope that on Wednesday, we can all finish strong and welcome the new 13th Undergraduate Senate soon.
Anybody else for the order? Okay, I'm going to speak. Thank you all so much. I know we're not done. We still have one more special meeting on Wednesday. Please submit your comments if you can't be there. But I'd just like to thank you all so much for letting me be your speaker. I've had such a fun time. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the first meeting so we can see if I get on again. Okay, anybody else for good of the order? Okay, seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Oh my gosh.
How was the? You're going with.
Wow, you're really talking about you're your brand.
Yeah, all right.
Shane.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I won't vote for you, Sophia. I won't say it's not on brand anymore.
That's amazing.
No, we're gonna see the ones that don't. Don't feel like. Look at the point of those.
Let's talk about